strengthen the economic fortune of Ekiti State, revamp moribund industries, pay workers and finance projects in the state? This is a big question people in Ekiti are asking right now.
Absolutely.
We have joining us in the studio a political analyst and a member of the All Progressives Congress, Adili Adewale, joining us. It's good to have you join us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Right. Congress, Adili Adewale, joining us. It's good to have you join us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Right. We have heard Governor-elect Fayemi say, I will pay workers' salaries in 6 months. We all know that right now, there are, like we read earlier on, there are issues of under-remittances from the NNPC to the Federation account and then allocation to states, many states not being able to pay salaries and all of that. Now, going forward into the new administration, how challenging do you think is going to be for the incoming governor?
Well, first and foremost, I don't envy him at this situation because he's going to meet a lot of rot in the system. But yet again, he has been governor of that state before, so he understands the ropes. He's not a learner. And considering what he was able to do in the ministry where he held the stead before he ran for election, where he was able to turn around the fortune of that ministry, I think it should be a very easy run for him. I mean, thinking out of the box, but basically, I would expect that by now he would have gotten some aggregates of what is happening, perhaps not in full details, but of course, some aggregate for him to get the ground running.
Yeah, but there are those who will disagree with you as far as his performance in the steel ministry was concerned. You remember at some point he was summoned by the National Assembly to appear, and some of them declared him not competent enough to run the ministry. So, as I said earlier, there are those who will disagree with you as to how he performed. And now going into Ekiti, and he says he's going to pay the salaries within 6 months. I mean, isn't that a political talk?
Well, for those who said that, perhaps they are not having the facts very right. When the oil price plunged, remember that there were two critical areas or three critical areas that really helped us to mop up funds in order to pay salaries and do all whatnot. His ministry was one of them. The second one was the FIRS and all of that. They were able to, attract a lot of funds, and towards doing that, he was also able to strike some balance with some investors out there to come in and run some part of our sector, quite rightly. And anybody who has said that is not being correct with the fact. But like I said before, he had been governor of that state. If he was a newcomer, perhaps I'll have a fear. But he had been governor of that state. He was able to put a lot of development on board, particularly in terms of bringing up infrastructures and all whatnot. So that terrain is not new for him. And speaking with the civil servants, particularly the Nolge and all whatnot, he was also presented with a lot of facts. And remember that he's not a greenhorn. He had been able to get a lot of information even from the back end, so he knows what is happening. And that is why he called for 6 months. 6 months would have been enough for him, if not fully paid, but he would have been able to pay a lot of the backlog.
All right. The incumbent governor now, Fayemi, it is no news that they have been political rivals for a long period of time. How would his cooperation or lack of cooperation with the incoming governor or government impact on his performance going forward?
Well, his cooperation for us is meaningless. It's meaningless. I mean, we would expect that the Fayemi administration will put together a handover note, and a committee from the Fayemi, incoming administration would have worked with the Fayemi administration in order to perfect the entry of the new government. But be that as it may, what will go well for him is that he has governed the state before. Either the Fayemi administration cooperate or not, he has been there. He knows what is there. He knows what he left behind. The only thing is that perhaps they would have weakened a lot of the resources of the state to the extent that things might look difficult to put back on track. but his experience will have to count for him.
All right, at the moment, well, the state or the electorate, the citizenry, let's not talk about electorate anymore because elections have
been
gone.
concluded.
Yeah, so let's look at the citizens now. A bit, people are still hurting, divided, sharply divided. What should he be doing at the moment in terms of trying to unite, the party, so as to oil the engine of governance when it comes on board?
Well, I wouldn't know who is hurting. From the APC, nobody is hurting. If they were hurting, we wouldn't have won that election. So the APC is very intact. I think whoever that is hurt should concede defeat, because when similar thing happened to Dr. Fayemi, he was the first person to call Mr. Fayoshe and congratulate him, and he actually cooperated with him to the extent that he made his beginning very easy. So we should expect the same from them.
Yeah, you remember during the primary, the party, the intra-party, primary elections, a lot of, dust was raised, and all of that. And so are you saying that everyone would have been, realigned, properly at the moment? Are you saying there aren't those who are still hurting from, what happened?
Everybody aligned perfectly well, and that is why we won. And we also suffered a casualty. Remember, Mr. Fayemi Bamidele is in the hospital. They aligned perfectly well. If they have not aligned, we wouldn't have won that election.
All right, for Ekiti people, what would they be looking forward to from the new governor coming in?
Better government, better governance, more infrastructures. He's going to invest massively in education, technology, empowerment of the youth and women, and of course, the health system. Mr. Fayemi is going to bring his experience to bear, making sure that the private sector come in very well into Ekiti State. And I know the government also is going to provide some industrial hub, where energy will be provided for them in order to produce, because that's the only way to go now. You must also know that Ekiti is more of an agro-allied state. So you're going to see a lot of agricultural activities happening there, and there'll be more of security for the people of Ekiti State. And you're going to see prosperity as the time goes by.
Yeah, talking about security, sorry. The National Assembly is moving on to see the possibility of looking into state police. But for Ekiti people, although they don't feel threatened right now, but when you say there's going to be security, how will the governor himself guarantee security for the people when all of these agencies of security are still in the hands of the federal government?
Well, that is the beauty of it. We have a state that is APC, you have a national that is APC, and Dr. Fayemi also is a very good student of history, knowing what had happened in the past. And of course, like I said, he's also going to work with the sister state. You're going to see regional integration working very well, particularly in the Southwest. The sister states are also going to provide a lot of buffer for him, and with the perfection of development in terms of security in Lagos State, they're going to replicate a lot in that angle. And the APC already have a very good blueprint with regards to that, and I don't see us having a problem with security there. It's just that more nodes have to be tightened, and you have to have more communal input in effecting adequate security in that state.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry, we have joining us right now. We have Mojid Jamiu. He is the executive editor, Upshot Reports. He's joining us on phone right. Mojid, it's good to have you join us on this discussion.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. I know you were in Ekiti and you followed the election and you followed the developments and how everything turned out. Now, for Ekiti people right now, what are they looking forward to from the incoming government that will be taking place or starting in October?
Yes, we've had a state that has lost its values. When you tell people you are from Ekiti State, they tell you, you are from Ekiti State. I mean, they look at you with a lot of scorn. So the first challenge is to reclaim that trust and rebuild the values of the people. Ekiti used to be the fountain of knowledge. Ekiti used to be the land of honor and integrity. But we lost all those ones. The major challenge before Fayemi is to restore those values. And that's why you have reclaiming our land and restoring our values as major campaign theme. Following on that, it will need to address the issue of a backlog of salaries, which actually contributed to the loss of the ruling PDP in Ekiti State. You have a majorly civil service state that is being owed, where workers are being owed between 6 and 8 months, and pensioners are owed about 11 months salary arrears. You don't expect such people to vote for continuity, quote and unquote. So that would be the major challenge. And in his acceptance speech, the governor-elect, Dr. John Kawade Fayemi, promised to take care of the backlog of salaries in the first 6 months. He said he'll make it his priority. So that's basically a key issue that you need to tackle.
All right, Mujid, let me stay with you. The perception that people had of the incoming governor or the governor-elect, let me use that term now, was that he was not a grassroots person. And so that accounted for the reason that he lost the 2014 election. Do you think that there is a sense in which he has learned from that?
Well, when Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu came to campaign for Dr. Fayemi, when the president came visiting on July 10, I could recall, Asiwaju said, Fayemi is now a student of history. He has gone to Abuja. He has learned his lessons. Is better. Is better positioned to address some of these issues. But then, when you talk of connecting to the grassroots, I want to believe that Fayemi connected better to the grassroots by paying 5,000 naira to indigent aged people between 2010 and 2014. And those people, there's a video trending on BBC and now where an aged woman went to the government house on the eve of election. She was paid 4,000 naira to vote for the PDP candidate. But the woman told BBC that she would be voting for Kawade Fayemi. Those are some of the people that decided this election in favor of Fayemi. So there is no better connectivity than taking care of the aged. Fayoshe came to government in 2014 with the slogan of smart infrastructure. But with the people have been able to see the difference that there was no smart infrastructure anywhere. He promised to increase the social security from 5,000 to 10,000, but he ended up paying nothing. He said he will employ 40,000 people. He employed nobody. So some of these issues are critical issues that decided the election. And that's why you find a situation where in Fayoshe's polling unit, where he voted, Fayemi scored 60 votes, whereas in Fayemi's polling unit, Fayoshe scored 2 votes. I mean, the PDP candidate scored 2 votes. So that tells you that people have been able to see the difference. They know that Fayemi will continue to connect better with the people than somebody who came on the mantra of smart infrastructure, but was building bridges to nowhere.
Okay, Mujid, let me put you on hold and come to Ayodele here. Now, the governor said all the programs, or the governor-elect Fayemi said that all the programs he had before, he's going to rejuvenate them, recalibrate them, and bring them back on board. Apart from the payment of salary, he talked about the issue of social security, the monies he used to pay to the aged, and so on, free education and all of that. All of these things require funds. Where will the fund or the funding really come from?
The fund will always come if you can think deeply and think out of the box. You understand? If you can't think far and wide, then if you depend on just a meal ticket from Abuja, you will never have the fund. And like the last speaker had said, his experience that he has gotten from Abuja, alongside with what he had before, is going to be very useful for him. And he has also seen that there is a need to also invite the private sector more. It is only when the private sector come in more that you can provide more jobs for the people. And if they also industrialize and also, embark on more technological hub, that is the only area where people can be more gainfully employed. You have to improve individual peculiarities of capacity. If you don't do that, then the wealth will not be able to get sprinkled around. So all of these things are things that you are going to see, regardless of just going to sit down and fry gari with people and eat at the buka and whatnot. Those things are not going to help the people. It is when you develop their capacity that they also will multiply wealth.
Now, as we know in Nigerian politics, when a new administration comes on board, what it does, except in Lagos here, we have seen good level of continuity, and that is the reason that the state is on an upward trajectory in terms of infrastructure development, good life for citizens and all of that. Do you expect that the incoming administration in Ekiti would do away with all the projects of the past administration? Because if you remember, this administration also continued with the TSA, which was initiated by the Jonathan administration and is paying dividends.
That's talking at the federal level.
Yeah, the federal level. And then the light rail system, which was also started by the Jonathan administration, and they just inaugurated it not too long ago, and it's yielding. Do you expect that the incoming administration would continue with some of the good ones?
Well, I've not seen anything good in the administration. But I think what the new administration should do is to do away with the wastages. There were a lot of wastages, things that ordinarily could have been used for better development of the people.
Wastages in what areas?
For instance, the flyover bridge. I was in Ado-Ekiti and I saw that bridge. For me, it's a waste. That money could be used to build primary health care centers. That money could have been used to build youth centers, could have been invested in education. These are things that will help the people more.
Aren't you saying so because you are an opponent?
No, I'm a realist. If you go there and see where that bridge was built, just a junction like you have in Lekki Second Toll would have solved the problem. The population does not warrant that. You're talking about people spending over 5 billion naira for that waste. It's a waste. I foresee Lagos partnering with Ekiti to produce rice now. You understand? Aside from just going to Kebbi, Ekiti is closer, and Ekiti also produce rice. So if they venture into rice production, you know how many people will be sucked in? If they go into more of cassava production, they will also use that for other form of energy like ethanol and all of that, which is also needed in the international community. That will provide jobs and provide money. You understand? So those are the things that they will focus more on than just embark on some wastages.
Okay. Mojid, let me come to you here. The much talked about regional integration, which a lot of people are excited about. In fact, the 6 regions in Nigeria, the Southwest has really been the #1 when it talks about regional integration. Now that the Ekiti is going to be on board, having the same political party, how will this impact on the regional integration project?
Yes. In Lagos alone, Lagos consumes about 3 billion naira worth of food items every day. And at a point between 2010 and 2014, when Fayemi was governor, Ekiti became the highest grower of cassava, and that's the record. And the partnership, like Mr. Ayodele said, the partnership between Kebbi and Lagos, the 10 billion partnership between Kebbi and Lagos on Lake Rice, could have been between Ekiti and Lagos, for example, but because the administration then under Fauci was not willing to be part of the integration. But now with a progressive government in the whole of Southwest, it will be a smoother integration process where farm produce and consumables from the southwestern states can come into Lagos. You can do a lot of things with cassava. Cassava starch is making a very good returns in terms of export and even local production. And so also there was what we call the Youth in Commercial Agri program that was introduced between 2010 and 2014 by the Fayemi administration, where youth are encouraged to go into commercial farming. They are given farm implements, and that accounted for the high yield in cassava, and also other cash crops like cocoa and cola. We have been encouraged. The same thing with fish farming and poultry production. At the point Ekiti was stabilizing, we were processing some of these products and taking it to Lagos. But all of that died down when this new administration came because of the promise of stomach infrastructure, giving people 200 naira and one cup of rice on a yearly basis. So people left those farming ventures and were relying on these pittance, which has set the state back. What I believe one of the challenges is for Fayemi to go back to those programs. And a good news for Ekiti is that the head of the Anchor Borrower Scheme of the Central Bank of Nigeria was the former commissioner for Agric. His name is Jide Aroshafe. He's the former commissioner for Agric in Ekiti. He's the head of the Anchor Borrower Scheme in the CBN, which I believe with Fayemi in the saddle, Ekiti will be able to partner with the federal government and some other states in the southwest to bring this opportunity to Ekiti farmers and increase agric output.
All right, Mojid, we're staying with you. Somebody made a joke not too long ago about the 4,000 naira reported to have been given to some people, money politics that went on in Ekiti, and said, look, you have been given 4,000 naira, and you must remember that this 4,000 naira will serve you for the next 4 years. So spend wisely. That means 1,000 for a year. So the point I'm trying to bring out here is that the Ekiti election, so much was talked about inducement. We're going into 2019 elections at the moment. How do you think we can remove from this kind of politics so that it is the will of the people that would eventually prevail at the end of the day?
We have a serious problem here, and INEC issued a statement on it yesterday. But I have never seen a situation where a sinking government will be so desperate as to the extent of using state resources, state machinery to fund an election process. I mean, this is not a joke, and it's a very serious matter which the EFCC should look into. My parents are civil servants, are retirees. They got an alert of 3,000 naira a day or two to elections from the Ekiti state government, coined as a social payment or whatever. I mean, and several other people, certain civil servants and other people that are not on government payroll, got an alert of between 2,000, 3,000, and 4,000 from the state government. This is terrible. It's something that people should be called to question. Under what head was this money being paid? And we have INEC shouting, condemning bribery. So if they claim that the other parties also spend money, it can be proven. But we have a situation where people got alert from the state government, 3,000, 4,000, 2,000 naira on the eve of election. And I think it's something that should be probed. It calls for serious question. And going to 2019, it is a very, very dangerous trend that could derail our hard-fought democracy.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jamiu. Let me put you on hold and come to Ayodele. Now, when it comes to the grassroots, it's one thing, is a way of holding the people and holding the ground. You are someone who has been a grassroots mobilizer. Now, if we take it to Ekiti, for instance, how will the governor-elect connect more? We know that for him to win the election, he's on ground. But how will he keep the grassroots engaged continually for the next 4 years without necessarily towing the line of stomach infrastructure, as the case may be?
Well, the best for him to do is to work with the local governments and charge them with tasks. I would expect that he will have periodic meetings with the local government helmsmen, say every 3 months, and give them tasks to do. The grassroots are not asking for too much. They're only asking for the basic things of life, which again will be a springboard for them to develop at their own pace and will. So I would expect that each local government should embark on health programs, should embark on educational programs, agriculture, and of course infrastructure as it concerns road, drainages, and all. In all of these programs, they are also going to provide jobs for people, both the skilled and unskilled classes of people within the community. And for the aged, they can also create a fiat for them in order to give some level of welfare support, which can also be not just as meal ticket. You understand? It could be in the area of getting their immediate needs solved, like food and some stipend and all whatnot. But I've often said that the way out in this thing is to provide qualitative education. If people are well educated, if they are well skilled, they can even export their skill and get funds and come back to the state to invest.
Now, Jamu agreed that, look, we have a daunting challenge on our hand, this money politics thing. You are here in the studio. I want to also ask you the same question. How do you think that we can surmount this challenge of inducing people and let the electorate know that, look, you should warm up to one with an idea and not one who would give you 10 naira, 20 naira, and then the next 4 years you won't see him anymore?
First and foremost is for government to be up and doing. If the people have things to do and they are satisfied with what they are doing, I don't see them being induced by any monetary values or what have you. Secondly, that you must continue to engage them in discussion. I have a platform in my local government where I engage over 300 people every Monday in the last 5 years. And never have we given 1 naira for people to even transport themselves there. The least we'll give you is refreshment, a bottled water and one gala, and that's all. And they have been coming every Monday in the last 5 years. They also go to replicate that in their various wards. And when it's time for election, you see them going to vote without being induced because they believe in what they have heard and they believe in what they have seen in the past. So if government are responsible and people see what you're doing and it connects to their lively living, they will definitely connect to you to preserve what they've seen and what they've heard. And that is as easy as that. Because you see a lot of insurgency around and all of these things. These people are not paid money. It's ideology. As you continue to talk to them, they get indoctrinated in what you say. And as you continue to talk to them, they believe in you, knowing fully well that you will replicate the talk. And as long as you don't violate all of your sayings and you don't trick them, you don't deceive them, they'll continue to follow you.
All right, let's go to Jamiu.
Yes. Let's go to Jamiu here. Jamiu, a lot of people expect so much when a government comes into place, and you are on ground. What should be or what could likely be priorities for the new governor when he takes over come October?
Basically, like I said earlier, the prompt payment of salaries, it's very key because though the civil servants in Ekiti are less than 5%, but then Ekiti is basically, unfortunately so, and a civil service state. But then the priority would be to turn things around and make it an agrarian state, like Ayodele said, a partnership with Lagos in terms of agriculture. Lagos provide the funds, then the Anchor Borrower scheme of the CBN provides the equipment and the seedlings, while Ekiti provides the land and the manpower. That would be a partnership, just like Lagos and Kebbi, that can further boost our agri-produce, and it should be a win-win situation for Lagos, Ekiti, and the people. Basically, that should be without jettisoning infrastructure, of course. There's still a lot to be done. I was on election day. I was in Iyemero, a village in one of the hinterlands of Ekiti, and I saw a man, an elderly man, about 80 years old, and I was asking him, has he seen the bridge in the state capital? He said in the past 4 years he has not been to the state capital. That he doesn't know of any bridge, that he needs farm input, he needs so. That he had to go back to the farm because the 5,000 naira that was being paid to him between 2010 and 2014 stopped because he was living with the 5,000 naira social security of Fayemi, and that he was forced to go back to the farm because the stipend was no longer coming. So a lot of people want this 5,000 naira with the social security, which I'm glad the federal government has taken over as a conditional cash transfer that has been paid to the poorest of the poorest households. So these are some of the quick wins which the Fayemi administration will use to endear itself to the people of Ekiti State when it takes over in October.
All right, Jamiu, let's look at the broader picture at the moment. The APC will take over power in Ekiti, and the 2019 general elections are drawing ever closer. It used to be said of a community in East Africa that they never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity. Has the APC missed the opportunity to remain a united party going into the 2019 general elections?
Yeah, you can see that it's when you win some and you gain some, the next few months will be critical months for the APC family. You can see the the trouble in Benue, and also you can see that even Ekiti State is a gain for APC, while Benue is a loss, so to say, quote and unquote, although the elections are still on. And you can see the feelers coming in from Ebonyi, where the governor of Ebonyi State is singing, and is thinking of coming to the APC. And you also saw what happened in Kwara State yesterday, thinking of coming to the APC. And you also saw what happened in Kwara State yesterday, in Ilorin to be precise, where the Senate President posted Tambuwa and some other PDP governors. I mean, those are indications of things to come. And also you see that the PDP has been moving to Obasanjo to beg him and to see the coalition between SDP. So a lot of these factors will play out. But then, unlike the formidable team of the parties that came in to form the APC, it will be difficult for the PDP and the other margin parties to upstage an APC. I'm not being too optimistic here, but then I've seen politics as a reporter, I've seen politics as a stakeholder. You see, the kind of person that will have the kind of temerity and the holding power of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not present in the PDP or any opposition party. So it will be very difficult for them. And you could see that it was a serious sacrifice for Asiwaju to throw up Buhari, who has a winning formula, who has that magic wand. But I can't see that person anywhere as long as Buhari lives that can upstage him. Not even an Atiku, not a Tambuwa, not a Masari. So it will be a very difficult challenge. It will be a choice, or a very difficult choice for Nigerians. But when the chips are down, they will still want to prefer a Buhari in 2019. So if Buhari is still the candidate to pick, APC needs to put it out in order. Of course, they are going to lose some governors, some senators, but then they will also gain some. And Ekiti has been a very serious litmus test for APC. And winning Ekiti is a very good dose for APC and going into the Osun election. And if APC can win Osun again, despite all the hazards in Osun, then I think the coast will be clearer for the party come 2019.
All right, thank you, Moji Jamiu, Executive Editor of Short Reports, joining us there. Thank you very much for your analysis on the program. Now, let me come to you, Ayodele. Now, Moji just said that the winning of Ekiti election by APC is a gain for the political party. Looking at 2019 election, does that necessarily translate to does that necessarily translate to the winning, or let's say the Northeast being held down for President Buhari if, as he becomes, even though the primary election has not come, but he said he's going to run, so for 2019 election?
Well, the Ekiti election was an acid test because a lot of negative information and false information were being thrown all over the place, especially on the social media, that the APC wasn't popular anymore. So for the APC, it was an acid test. And of course, the party passed the test. So it means that the party has been gingered on to continue with its good work, and of course touching the lives of people and make correction where it is needed, and of course improve on the activities where it is needed, and continue to push on.
All right, before I give it, we have the Osun election coming sometime in September. The outcome of Ekiti, how would it rub off on Osun?
Well, it's going to cascade to Osun, definitely. You have a very cerebral governor there that have thought out of the box. And if there's anything that governor has done that gladdens my heart, is the infrastructure that he has provided for his state, which will make development much easier, especially those schools. You need to visit the place to see the schools. You know, when I was privileged to be with Chief Anthony Anauro before he died. So we're talking, and I was asking him how Chief Awolowo was able to provide free education, and he smiled. And he said initially Awolowo himself was afraid when they brought the data to him and that they needed 5,000 teachers for the Western region. And he asked how were they going to start. And the committee was put in place where Baba Jashi and the rest were, and they brought the formula and they started it. And as the journey done, you know how Babake Kere that developed it more to provide what some people call the poetry school. And as we journeyed on, it improved. So when Governor Aregbesola came, he actually discarded all of those dying infrastructure that were there, provided modern infrastructure that will attract the students to school, and backed it up with food. You understand? And for those people that grow the food, cook the food, was even an opportunity for them to get some money into their own pockets. He went onto the roads, provided better roads and farmland roads and all of those things, and driving to Osun is more easier, and to get the goods out of Osun is even much easier. And he went again to the airport. You understand? The airport that is building there, that is financed by the private sector, these are things that will open the state for greater glory. And I presume that by the next administration, when they are battered in place, they also will lay more concretely on what they have met on ground.
Right, Comrade Ayodele, politician, political analyst, former chairman, Amodofin, local government area. Well, thank you very much indeed for coming to talk to us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.